nostalgia, an element that we cherish, but also what blinds us from seeing the true faults of a piece of work in the rose-tinted glasses. At times, this is how I feel with Spyro Year the Dragon, a game that has felt so much for me in my childhood. However, as I play through it, I must ask, does it still live up to how it used to back then? Do I merely like it for what it has meant to me through my nostalgia goggles, or is it a legitimately good game that has passed through time as a true classic? Of course, there is only one true way to find out. Holy cannoli! Spyro Year the Dragon truly is a polished 3D platformer. Whether it is the level designs, or Stuart Copeland's soundtrack, which, by the way, that man's a beast, or even the story, the engaging story that had me sucked in, the atmosphere that always took me to another world. Spyro Year the Dragon truly was a gem in a bunch of rust bucket that has been forgotten. Or at least this version of the game has forgotten. It continues to live on in other versions, at least, I suppose. So, you might not expect the story to play a big part in 3D platformer. However, in Year of the Dragon, the story really does play a major part in the enjoyment of the game, and it doesn't just feel like a structuring device. Spyro 3 begins on the day of the Year of the Dragon, and all the dragon eggs have been delivered. The dragon elders are fast asleep, and all of a sudden, out of a hole, a rabbit in a hood with a squad of Rhinox emerges. She steals the eggs and goes back down into the holes, where she reports back to the Sorceress in the Forgotten Realms. Meanwhile, the fairies try carrying some of the eggs back up to the Dragon Realm, but they were too heavy to bring back, so it is up to Spyro and Hunter to bring back the eggs and go to the Forgotten Realms to stop the Sorceress for good. The story may be simple, but it really advances the lore of the Spyro universe. All the characters you encounter add some kind of significance to the rest of the overall universe. It's like one of those things that goes from being really simple to really complex. If there is one complaint that I have, I kind of feel like Spyro isn't really the main star of the entire game. I felt like most of the characters felt like they played a strong role in this. Center stage goes to Bianca and Hunter, and the romance they are able to build. They have the strongest character development, especially with how Bianca changes and becomes a completely different character from apprentice to sorceress to ally of Spyro and to hunt for the eggs. As for the characterization, Spyro is the same serious, tough as nails protagonist that we know him as. However, he really plays second fiddle compared to some of the other vast array of characters we encounter throughout the game. There's Sheila the Kangaroo, who is a very amorous character, friendly, can become brutal when the time serves right. Sergeant Bird is commando, with a serious attitude and is ready to take action when the time calls for it. Bentley the Yeti is a funny, serious attitude and is a goofball Yeti and is very natured despite the size of his brutish nature. And Agent 9 is a hyperactive monkey that will make you into a fried fish if you get a little too close to his laser blaster. Overall, these characters are all likable and fleshed out. Ted Price himself stated that he wanted to put a lot of emphasis onto new critters, and it really shows. These characters have more of a flavorful characteristics compared to Spyro. Not that he's dull or anything, it's just that it does come across as if he's more sidelined compared to the previous titles. However, we do come to the villain of the main game, which is the Sorceress. Overall, I do like how it does come across as if the Sorceress's main intentions for stealing the dragon eggs was benevolent. However, later on in the game, we do learn that she really wanted to use the dragon's wings in order to cook up another spell. So in that sense, I do kind of like how the game makes the player hate her. However, that being said, I do wish that she and Spyro had a bit more interaction, because it really would have made the final boss fight a little bit more meaningful if they had more forms of interaction. Yes, this is a good way to segue into the gameplay of Year of the Dragon. Year of the Dragon centers on collecting dragon eggs and gems. While this may sound tedious at first, I actually quite appreciate the fact that the level design actually bothers to branch out and differentiate itself from the other levels. For instance, Spooky Swamp will have you lighting torches in order to open up secret areas, and Enchanted Towers will have you blowing up rockets in order to destroy a statue that the main NPC has offered to build for the Sorceress. It's these little touches that I feel make each level feel different, despite the fact that you'll be doing the same task of collecting eggs and collecting gems. And this even applies to the presentation of the levels. I really like how in Enchanted Towers it really makes you feel like you're part of some kind of rebellion against the Sorceress, and in Spooky Swamp all the fireflies talk in some form of haiku. The main innovation comes from the new characters. Each of these characters have their own pros and cons. Sheila the Kangaroo can double jump into a high jump. She's the same as Spyro, except for the fact that I felt like her high jump was a little stiff at times. Other than that, she's pretty solid to control. Sergeant Bird is very good with long-range attacks, but his flying is slow. Bentley is strong, but tends to be lumbering in movement. Agent 9 can carry a versatile weapons for guns and bombs, but can't stray from controlling him. Actually, that's not a problem, since most of his minigames involve first-person shooting. So for the most part, these characters control decent to good, but none of them are as natural as Spyro. The game also allows you to ride on a skateboard and go inside of a submarine. These are two vehicles that I think were integrated very well within Spyro 3. Skateboard in particular controls very well, however it does take some time to get used to, and submarine may have a lock-on that locks on very slowly. However, it still generally works well for the most part. Skateboarding minigame also has a trick inclusion in which, based on a number of tricks that you have, you can beat the course record. In many ways, this actually adds a good bit of depth to skateboarding minigames. So, does nostalgia blind me with my liking for Spyro 3? Maybe, but I must say that it has aged surprisingly well, and even though I find that it is a little rough around the edges in terms of the fact that some of the characters might feel a little awkward to play as, it still is a remarkable game. Therefore, I would definitely recommend Spyro 3, Year of the Dragon.